I have 2 kids, I hate how everyone thinks of me as being just a mommy now, I don't get to be my own person. I'm just mommy, husband doesn't face this, he gets gifts from everyone that have to do with his hobbies. Me? I get a bunch of mommy shit. Tee, mommy needs wine, and like matching outfits, I don't mean like, one of those cutesy matching pajama sets that the nurses and horse girls wear in their staged Christmas Instapics. I mean like, people actually think I'm going to go out in public wearing some cutesy matching outfits with my toddlers. As though I think they're mini versions of myself. Or dolls. From the time we got to the in-laws, it was mama this and mama that. At some point, my sister-in-law said it and I said, you know my name is Carmen, right? She just looked at me funny and said, of course, silly. I said, so why do you keep calling me mama? You aren't going around calling husband papa. Sister-in-law just looked at me like I had 2 heads and was like, okay. This went on all over Christmas. Here you go. Mama. Want another slice, mama? At that point I was just like, do you guys mind calling me by my name instead of calling me mama? The same sister-in-law as before did the whole golly gee doe-eyed thing and said, but you're such a good mama. I said that I'm not just a mom. I gestured to the things that husband got for Christmas from them, and said, why didn't you guys get him anything that says papa? Everything you gave me is somehow related to me being a mom. Why does he get to be his own person? Mother-in-law grabbed my hand and squeezed it and said that she was sorry that she made me feel like this. She was just so excited about being a grandma and she never really thought of things like that. I was feeling a little better until sister-in-law 2 and sister-in-law 3 started going after me. One of them did that whole "are you okay? Do you need to talk someone? You sound so angry." It isn't healthy faux concern thing that's meant to shame you for having any emotional response. The other one was angry and saying that is being a mom somehow beneath you and do you think you're better than the rest of us? And all that. When we finally left, he asked me why I'd kept it in for so long, and I said that I haven't. No one listened to me before. I've said these things plenty of times. I've always asked them to call me by my name and not some disgusting nickname that boils me down to giving birth. He nodded, but said that I'd put a big pallor on the weekend and that I need to apologize for the outburst at some point. I said sure, as soon as sisters-in-law apologized to me for dehumanizing me for years, we're at a stalemate. Am I the asshole? I received an inheritance when my grandmother passed away when I was 16. It went into a trust since I wasn't an adult. I didn't need it for school and my parents didn't make me pay to live with them when I was a student. I met my husband in high school and we went long distance when he was accepted into a great school out of state. He got a lot of financial assistance and his parents helped him so he didn't have to take out student loans. When we got married we used some of my inheritance for a down payment on our home. We are not like some people in this sub. Our finances are our finances. We both work and pay for everything together. My in-laws are not well off but they are not poor. They did not go into debt to help their son with his education. But they hold it over his head. Every time that we get together they insist on questioning his life decisions. He lives them and will not tell them to leave him alone. I have spoken to him about it because I can see it hurts him. So together we decided to end this. We saw them for Thanksgiving and when they started in on him about going back to school to get his MBA instead of just working he told them to drop it. He said that just because they helped him did not give them the right to dictate his life. Any decisions he made for his future were for us to make and not them. They acted very insulted and said that they were his parents and they had a right to their opinions. He said he didn't want to hear their opinions about our finances anymore. Well, we just got home from visiting them over Christmas. It was a shit show. They started in on all their children, saying how each one should be making better decisions since they weren't going to be there to fix their problems with money. As we had agreed, I had my checkbook ready. I pulled it out and asked them to please tell me the exact amount they wanted for their son's education. I said that I would pay them and then expect them to never bring it up again. They got very upset. They said it wasn't about the money. It was their children they were looking out for. All his other siblings told me that I was being an asshole for telling my in-laws how to talk to their kids. 2 of them have borrowed money from them and 1 still lives at home and needs them for school. We don't need them for their money. My in-laws finally agreed that they would not talk about our choices. But when we left it was still very tense. My husband and I are satisfied with how it turned out, but his family is still mad at us. Are we the assholes? I have been raising my brother since he was a baby. Our parents died in an accident not long after he was born. No one in my family wanted to take him in other than 1 set of grandparents but were too old to look after a newborn. I wanted to take him in anyway, so I wasn't upset that no one was fighting me on it. The other day my grandparents came up to visit. With them they had my cousin. I honestly don't like this cousin since she starts drama and seems to thrive on it, but I thought she could keep her mouth shut for an hour while our grandparents visit, so wasn't bothered by it. That was until I caught her telling my brother that I wasn't his dad. I knew then she was trying to start drama. My brother calls me dad and I call him my son, so from the outside people probably assume he has no clue I'm not his dad, but that's not the case. He has always known that I am biologically his brother and that mom and dad had an accident, so I became second dad. He has known this although his childhood. I told my cousin to fuck off out of my house, out of reach of my brother of course. She tried to do some sort of gotcha and say, "What, afraid your brother will find out you aren't daddy? Why are you angry at me telling him the truth?" I didn't say a word and just threw her out. Now I'm getting calls berating me for swearing at her and embarrassing her in front of our grandparents, since apparently they chewed her out for it and told her that my brother knows and that she caused a fuss over nothing. Am I the asshole? My brother James has a girlfriend, Lindsay, who he's been dating for 7 months. He decided to bring her to Christmas at my house, stay over Christmas Eve and leave the next day after lunch. I'd met Lindsay at drinks before this and she seemed nice. When they arrived, Lindsay walked in and complimented my decorations, large tree in the foyer, and asked how much they cost. I was a bit surprised by the question, but I just said more than I'd like and moved on. Throughout the evening she asked several questions centered around money. She asked my husband how much he paid for our house, my stepdad how much money he made in his previous job, how much my watch cost. She even Googled one of our art pieces to see how much it sold for and started talking about how crazy it was that we spent that much, which frankly was very uncomfortable. My stepdad pulled my brother aside and asked if there was a problem, but my brother just said it was normal for her to do that, but he did say he'd speak to her about it. On Christmas morning we all gathered round to open presents and thankfully, Lindsay didn't say anything untoward, so I figured James had spoken to her about her intrusive questions. However, at lunch, we were talking about plans for January and Lindsay loudly said she didn't know how we could afford to do anything in January as she added up the total we'd spent on gifts, and then proudly proclaimed the total amount. The whole table went silent, and honestly I was equal parts shocked and annoyed that someone could be so ignorant. I looked at Lindsay and said, "You are the world's most diligent gold digger. Seriously, would you like to be the family accountant since you're already tracking expenses?" Lindsay stuttered out an apology and tried to explain, but my stepdad just changed the conversation and we moved on. She was mercifully quiet for the rest of dinner. After they left, my brother messaged me saying I'd really upset Lindsay and was out of line with what I said. I argued that he had said he'd talk to her and he clearly didn't. Not that someone should have needed guidance to know how crass her comments were. He is saying I owe both of them an apology, but I think Lindsay's behavior was disgraceful. My parents say Lindsay was wrong, but I probably should have said something in private, or they could have, and I shouldn't have said something in front of everyone. Am I in the bad here?